Hello and welcome to another week's analysis behind the news. Here we are within a week of the 15-year anniversary of September 11th, and we have additional bombings on American soil. Granted, these are on a much smaller scale, but the effects are the same, terrorizing American citizens for reactions. And what are these reactions? Let's remember something that Osama bin Laden had stated shortly after the 9/11 attacks. And he said, "The battle has moved to inside America. I tell you, freedom and human rights in America are doomed. The U.S. government will lead the American people and the West in general into an unbearable hell and choking life." Now last week, we checked off a few of these reactions regarding what changes the Patriot Act has had on American citizens. But what other reactions do you think he was hoping for? How about a divide and conquer technique that communists have used throughout history to bring about more and more oppressive government? This can be done a number of ways, including focusing on and demonizing a person's religion, a person's race, as well as a person's political persuasion. All of these can be manipulated into persuading American citizens and its lawmakers into thinking large swaths of the population are the enemy. And of course, that enemy must be controlled. And in order to have this control, the federal government will need to have the legal power to clamp down on suspects, and the American people will need to willingly give up their liberties to achieve this level of control. Now recall what Benjamin Franklin had stated about the relationship between liberty and security. That those who would trade liberty for temporary security deserve neither. So how would you go about taking away liberties without too much fuss from the electorate? After all, people will stand in the way of this, won't they? Unfortunately, people will ask for it. And why? Because they see it as the responsibility of our federal government to keep us safe. Yet the first responsibilities of the federal government are to protect our rights and the independence of this nation. So anytime there is a crisis, the people will appeal to the federal government to keep them safe. They will give up certain liberties to make this happen. Yet it's a false sense of security, isn't it? Because if it wasn't, gun-free zones would be the safest places in the world. And the TSA, well, they've groped their way to new levels of immorality to completely humiliate air travelers. Yet, here we are. We just stand idly by because we're being kept safe from terrorists, aren't we? If you think this, then you might want to look up how many terrorists TSA has caught. So how do these crises come up? Recall former Congressman Ron Paul's stance on blowback, that they come here in retaliation for us being over there. Think that might be overly simplified? That being asked, shouldn't we expect others to treat us the same way we have treated them? And what is it that you teach to your children? Do you teach them to do unto others before they do unto you? Because that, in a nutshell, has been the foreign policy of the United States since at least the first President George Bush. And in its bungling of foreign policy, the American government is now the target of every radical Islamic extremist. How bad is this bungling? Let's give you two headlines from the last week. From the Associated Press, the headline is, "More than 800 immigrants mistakenly granted citizenship." The opening paragraph is, "The U.S. government has mistakenly granted citizenship to at least 858 immigrants who had pending deportation orders from countries of concern to national security or with high rates of immigration fraud, according to an internal Homeland Security audit released Monday." And according to the article, this has been an ongoing problem since 2008. However, aren't we assured that the federal government is properly vetting these folks? From the New American, headline, "New ISIS military chief trained by Obama administration." And the opening paragraphs here, "Yet another top military leader for the Islamic State, or ISIS, was exposed as having been trained by the U.S. government. This one as recently as 2014 and on American soil, according to media reports confirmed as accurate by the U.S. State Department." The ISIS military leader also said in a video that he was secretly trained in Russia. The terror leader in question is the new Minister of War for ISIS, according to Iraq News and other sources. He took over ISIS forces after the previous U.S. government-trained ISIS military chief, who was reportedly killed. U.S. authorities said that the new 41-year-old ISIS military chief, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name, received appropriate vetting prior to his advanced military and terror training by the U.S. State Department, including during the terms of Hillary Clinton and John Kerry. The former official's involvement with ISIS appears to have been first reported by CNN last year before he became Minister of War for the terror group. Critics said the latest revelations highlight major problems with the U.S. foreign policy, as well as serious questions about the Obama administration's supposed vetting capabilities. Indeed, for generations, the U.S. government has been caught variously arming and training mass-murdering dictators, terrorist groups, and other unsavory forces, often with tragic results. Folks, these tragedies do not occur because we are hated for our freedom. We're hated because of the consistent meddling that is done in the name of America and other sovereign countries. What gives us the right to be the policemen of the world, spreading democracy? And that being said, President Obama and UN General Secretary Ban Ki-moon are meeting in New York with other members of the UN and the refugee crisis this week, or I should say, in the refugee crisis, this week will be the top of their agenda. Yet in looking at American foreign policy and our war on terror, Obama and Moon have more than their fair share of blame to contributing to this crisis. And here they are meeting to go over additional solutions. And you know these solutions will translate to continue taking away our liberties. But don't let them do so. Learn more about why this happens by reading our Exposing Terrorism booklet inside the Terror Triangle. Dues-paying JBS members can download this for free in our archive at jbs.org, and others can purchase a printed or digital copy at shopjbs.org. Now, if you like what we do, then be sure to share this video with your family and friends. And until next week, we'll see you then.